An explosion at the Back River wastewater treatment plant in Dundalk, the latest on the firefight there. Governor Wes Moore's picked to lead the state police facing questions. It has to do with the timing of his return to the job after retiring and qualifying for a state pension.
United 2003, Kansas takeoff clearance.
Reporting takeoff, United 2003.
Another case of two planes coming too close for comfort. The incident at Reagan National and the investigation underway.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News at 6 starts right now with the exclusive Fox Track, your Baltimore Minute.
News broke of the 7th close call between planes, this time at Reagan National Airport in the nation's capital. The FAA says it happened on the morning of March 7th when an American Airlines flight crossed the wrong runway, putting it in the path of a United flight that had just been cleared for takeoff.
United 2003, everybody wants clear for takeoff traffic.
Clear for takeoff, rolling United 2003.
Oh, United 2003, Kansas takeoff clearance.
Reporting takeoff, United 2003.
The 2021 Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack causing panic at the pump, driving up gas prices. Nearly 2 years later, experts still warning America is not ready.
Today, America's already behind the 8 ball when it comes to securing our critical infrastructure.
Days ago, the White House announcing its national cybersecurity strategy. One major component, what the White House calls the rebalance of responsibility. That includes shifting the burden for cybersecurity away from individuals, small businesses, and local governments to software companies and others.
Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
Breaking news to report to you right now. A 16-year-old has been shot in Northeast Baltimore. This is what we know. It happened just before 4 o'clock. Now, the crime scene is at a gas station right by Reach Partnership School. Baltimore police say that teen was found shot multiple times. He is in the hospital, but his injuries are not considered to be life-threatening, so a bit of good news there. Last week, another 16-year-old student was shot and killed by his school and near it in Southeast Baltimore. Police are now looking for suspects in both of those cases. Mary.
Okay, thank you. First on Fox, Governor Wes Moore's picked to lead the state police facing questions about the timing of his return to the job after retiring. Our Mackenzie Frost has obtained new documents raising questions about the appointment.
We've obtained documents showing Governor Wes Moore's team was watching a so-called cooling off period, allowing Lieutenant Governor Roland Butler to retire and then wait until he was rehired so he could still earn his state pension. Then Governor Wes Moore announced Butler as his pick to lead an agency already facing scrutiny.
Good morning.
Governor Wes Moore announcing Lieutenant Colonel Roland Butler.
This will not be easy, but the women and the men of the Maryland State Police are prepared for this.
His pick to lead the Maryland State Police.
After doing an exhaustive search of individuals who I knew I could trust to lead us through this time, it was obvious that both because of his experience and also because of his vision looking forward, that I knew that Lieutenant Colonel Butler was the person I wanted to go with.
Butler was first hired by the state police in 1994. And according to MSP, he retired on December 31st, 2022. But other records indicate an email went out to the department on December 20th indicating Butler's retirement plans effective January 1st, 2023. Just a few weeks later, he was back on the job.
Thank you for the honor, sir.
Maryland law requires a state employee to wait 45 days from retirement to rehire to receive their pension. Seen here on the State Retirement Agency's reemployment form. And this section raising even more potential problems, stating, under no circumstances should your decision to retire be conditioned upon an offer of reemployment. No offers of reemployment should be discussed by you and your employer prior to your retirement. Butler's appointment must be confirmed by the Senate. This email, obtained by Fox 45 News from Secretary of Appointments Tisha Edwards, shows the governor's office was aware of the 45-day cooling-off period. The email sent hours before Moore publicly announced Butler's nomination. Edwards writing, "We discussed Mr. Butler a month or so ago. Due to pension rules, Mr. Butler was required to retire from the state and could only return after 45 days out of service." If Butler's nomination was discussed a month before he was announced, that would have been squarely within the 45-day window and potentially a violation violation of the state law if Butler retired, knowing the nomination was expected. Given these concerns, we sent questions to Governor Moore's office asking, when did conversations begin with Lieutenant Colonel Butler about the nomination? Did Governor Moore know Butler retired on December 31st and wait for the required 45-day pension window to expire before naming Butler as secretary? Moore's office says Butler complied fully with the statutory requirements for reemployment, but we still don't know when the conversation between Moore's team and Butler began, despite concerns within the department about ticket quotas and civil rights investigations into the department's hiring practices. Moore maintaining his confidence in Butler Monday.
He is someone who understands the challenges that exist within the state police, but also uniquely understands how to address it. And I do believe and still believe that Colonel Butler is the one who can help to lead Maryland to a safer state.
Tuesday, Senate President Bill Ferguson noting there are several members of his chamber who are asking their own questions about Butler leading the department.
I am proud that senators are doing their due diligence to make sure that he's the right person at the right time.
Not willing to say what will happen when a confirmation vote is taken. Butler, another nominee, facing questions ahead of his confirmation to fill out Governor Wes Moore's cabinet. A confirmation hearing for Lieutenant Colonel Butler is expected to be scheduled in the coming weeks. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
We're taking a look now at the Fox box. Top left, an explosion and fire at the Back River wastewater treatment plant in Dundalk. No one is hurt, but an investigation is ongoing. Top right, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby announces he is running for re-election. In 2020, he took the seat by 79% of the vote. Bottom left, it is day 3 of the federal manhunt for former Governor Larry Hogan's ex-chief of staff, Roy McGrath. On Monday, he failed to show up for his fraud trial in federal court. This morning, the FBI executed a search warrant at his Naples home. And bottom right, as of 4 p.m. today, Lamar Jackson now free to talk with other teams. The Ravens have 5 days to match any offer or let Jackson walk for 2 first-round draft picks.
So the question is, where is the money?
A familiar face joining the fight for families who have invested in the state's embattled prepaid college trust. Baltimore City Inspector General Isabel Cummings says she is among hundreds of parents who believe money is missing from their Maryland 529 accounts. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor shares her story and her call for action.
Yeah, as the city's top investigator, Cummings is an expert in sniffing out scams. And while she's only viewing this case as a parent, she says from the outside looking in, Maryland 529's calculation error doesn't pass the smell test.
It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody.
Career fraud fighter and current Baltimore City Inspector General Isabel Cummings is still in shock. A state-run agency has yet to refund the money she says parents were promised.
How could this even happen? How could this be true?
In 2021, Cummings' Maryland 529 balance was about $43,000. But when she went to transfer the account from one son to another later that year, she was told just $15,000 was available. When she pressed Maryland 529 for an explanation, she says straight answers were hard to come by.
I have been told so many different things. Computer glitch, forensic audit. Now they're just saying that my account is canceled. So myself and many, many parents who believed in what, the state of Maryland was telling us are now unable to pay for our children's education.
According to Maryland 529, an interest calculation error inaccurately inflated all 31,000 prepaid accounts. A year later, they're still working to manually recalculate the interest on hundreds of high-priority accounts. But according to Cummings and many other Maryland families, the math still isn't adding up.
I mean, I invested the money back in 2002, 2003, 2004. So for 20 years, now you're telling me that it's only $15,000. Where is the money? It doesn't make sense. And when things don't make sense, they need to be further investigated.
State investigations are typically spearheaded by the Attorney General's office. But in this case, documents uncovered by Fox 45 revealing the AG's office is actively boosting the agency's defense against potential legal backlash. In November of last year, former Attorney General Brian Frosh signing a special counsel contract, which brought on an outside law firm to offer Maryland 529 advice and support, as well as evaluating liability issues, work that's being done, quote, under the direction and control of the Office of the Attorney General. Still, several lawmakers say they're looking into the issues on their own. At least 2 bills have been proposed to shift leadership and provide new oversight of the state's college trust. However, they all fall short of guaranteeing parents will be paid back, an outcome coming and hundreds of other parents continue holding out hope for.
In the end, that's what I believe should happen, that the Maryland legislature, the Maryland governor should stand behind what we were promised.
And this evening in Annapolis, the Budget and Taxation Committee will be holding a hearing on Senate Bill 959. That bill would effectively dissolve Maryland 529's current board and move control of the trust to the state treasurer's office. It's something that Treasurer Davis and parents both say they're in support of. In Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Since the legislative session began in January, 2 high-ranking members of Maryland's 529 have resigned. Board Chair Peter Sergosa stepped down last month, shortly after Jessica McCain, a member of the board's Audit and Governing Subcommittee, left halfway through her 4-year term. You can see all of our reporting on Maryland 529 on foxbaltimore.com. A fight over abortion access unfolding right now in Texas, and the results will have a national impact.
And still some gusts on the winds, but they are coming down. I'm going to let you know when finally it's going to be calmer and warmer around here, and if it comes in time for St. Patrick's Day in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined. Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
A federal judge in Texas is hearing arguments about an abortion pill, and the ruling has nationwide consequences. A small gathering outside the courthouse this afternoon took place. That lawsuit is over the abortion pill, and the drug has become the most common method of abortion in the nation. Christian conservatives filed that lawsuit against the FDA. They argue the FDA's approval of the drug back in 2000 was flawed for several reasons, including an inadequate review of the pill's safety risk. The FDA is arguing pulling that drug would be, quote, extraordinary and unprecedented. Now, both sides had a chance to argue today. The judge's first ruling calling the case could be the only preliminary injunction request. We'll keep you updated on that. Mary?
Kai, thank you. Well, fears of a military conflict with Russia are growing tonight after a collision between a Russian jet and an American drone worth $32 million yesterday. It happened over the Black Sea just southeast of Ukraine. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin saying today the Russians were, quote, dangerous and reckless. The U.S. once again insisting the incident took place in international airspace and Moscow had no reason to scramble jets.
And this hazardous episode is part of a pattern of aggressive, risky, and unsafe actions by Russian pilots in international airspace.
The Russians firing back, claiming the U.S. is to blame because the drone was flying with its transponder off. Lawmakers in Washington are now calling for swift action. Well, the Dow Jones closing today down more than 280 points. The major averages had an uneven day, with the S&P 500 dropping 27 points and the tech-based NASDAQ gaining 5. This is turmoil in the banking sector that started in the U.S. spreads to Europe. On top of that, the Fed is still weighing another rate hike.
We were all ready for springtime. This is not what we wanted to do in the middle of March.
Pummeling residents coast to coast. It is a day of cleanup for folks in the Northeast and New England, where a late winter storm dumped more than 3 feet of snow in some areas. And over on the West Coast, more than 100,000 people are without power because of relentless rain, high wind, coupled with the already saturated ground, leading to flooding and destructive mudslides. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers here now. Jonathan, the winds we're seeing here should be, let's hope, dying down pretty soon. It looks beautiful in that TV picture.
Yeah, and it actually is beautiful looking, Mary, but the winds have been high today. Once again, not as bad as yesterday, but still could have some debris around, so keep that in mind as you're making the travels this evening. Winds out of the northwest at 21, 50 with sunshine reported now at Baltimore's BWI. Just an azure blue, gorgeous sky on the Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam, but you add in the winds as well as the low humidity. If you're doing some yard cleanup, you may be taking some of those limbs that might have fallen or been tossed about, or maybe just some leaves from over the winter, and you're trying to do some early spring cleanup. Well, got to make sure that you don't do any open burning today. There actually could be some pretty easy wildfire spread with some of these gusty winds still around and that very dry relative humidity. I think tomorrow is a better day for it if you're going to do that. Winds coming in out of the west and northwest about 15 to 25 miles an hour. Gusts up to about 35 or so, but that's better than it was yesterday when we had gusts up to about 52 here in Baltimore. Gusts today have been more in the 20 to 35 mile an hour range as this latest weather maker moves east on the HT radar. The next one, though, there it is up toward Minneapolis, making the push eastbound. Unlike this last one, not going to take the cold track, the snowy track for the northeast, but it's going to go off to the north. So that gets rid of the chilly air and ushers in some much warmer air ahead of this. And that's some good news as we head towards St. Patrick's Day. Overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. Going to be cold, right around 30 degrees for tomorrow afternoon. Patchy clouds, a mostly sunny day, we'll say, with temperatures getting into the 60 to 65 range. And then there are those showers, especially as we head toward lunchtime and beyond on St. Patrick's Day. Could have at least some light rain. So I may want to have some alternate inside plans just in case. But I don't think it's going to be anything heavier really causing a rain out. Just a little bit gloomier, I think, for Friday. 30. Clear skies tonight and cold. For tomorrow, less wind. 63. Maybe take a nice run. Mostly sunny and milder. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, I'll have your exclusive 10-day forecast taking you all the way through St. Patrick's Day and the beginning of spring.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Tuesday's nor'easter triggered a cool weather phenomenon on a New Hampshire lake. Thomas Brindle explains in his own video.
Yesterday's snow had so much water content, and the wind was so strong that it was basically nature's way of rolling snow. So you've got all these rolled balls on the lake, which is pretty cool.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Twitter.
A 7th close call with commercial planes at a U.S. airport. I'm Atrell Nashar with potential explanations coming out of a safety summit with industry leaders.
United 2003, runway 15 for takeoff traffic.
Clear for takeoff, rolling United 2003.
Oh, United 2003, Kansas takeoff clearance.
Boarding takeoff, United 2003.
A near collision at Reagan National Airport. The incident happened last Tuesday. According to the FAA, an American Airlines flight cleared to cross the runway came directly in the path of another flight trying to take off. Now, the FAA gathering aviation industry leaders in Virginia today, and they're calling it a call to vigilance after the number of close calls we're seeing. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar spoke to an expert who says who was there about how these near disasters can be avoided.
The night before a meeting of airline executives, pilots groups, and other industry leaders, news broke of the 7th close call between planes. This time at Reagan National Airport in the nation's capital. The FAA says it happened on the morning of March 7th when an American Airlines flight crossed the wrong runway, putting it in the path of a United flight that had just been cleared for takeoff.
United 2003, runway 15 for takeoff traffic.
Clear for takeoff, rolling United 2003.
Oh, United 2003, Kansas takeoff clearance.
Boarding takeoff, United 2003.
Illustrating the urgency for stakeholders to figure out
what the heck is going on out there.
Experts bringing up a backlog of pilot training and an air traffic control staffing shortage. There were also calls for broader and more consistent funding from Congress, which is set to reauthorize the FAA this year. I spoke to President and CEO of the Flight Safety Foundation, Dr. Hassan Shahidi, who was in the room at the summit on Wednesday, and he tells me predictability is critical for safety.
A safety organization that is trying to manage the most complex system in the world of aviation cannot plan effectively when there's uncertainty in terms of resources that are available.
These close calls are the latest issue to rock the Department of Transportation under Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's faced supply chain bottlenecks, airline chaos, and train derailments, which are also keeping officials at the National Transportation Safety Board busy. Chair Jennifer Hamendi, who was at the summit Wednesday, offering this sobering reminder for air travel.
The absence of a fatality or an accident doesn't mean the presence of safety.
Officials and industry leaders set to meet again this spring. In the meantime, investigating the root causes of these 7 close calls and hoping there's not another. In Washington, I'm Atrel Nishar reporting.
All right, your exclusive 10-day forecast. Going to have temperatures warming up tomorrow. 60 to 65, could be near 65 for St. Patrick's Day on Friday. Some spot showers, but anything that comes down should be pretty light. Increasing sunshine, though, for Saturday. A little bit cooler, blustery, 53, 45, blustery and chilly again on Sunday, but warming up just in time for the beginning of spring. Monday, we're at 52, 59 on Thursday, 60 on Wednesday, stays near 60 to wrap up next week and heading into next weekend.
Jonathan, thanks. Say hello to the future of McCormick's Spice Bottles. The Baltimore-based company in Hunt Valley is giving its iconic red cap bottles their first makeover in nearly 40 years. I don't know how I feel about this. You will notice the new snap cap. McCormick says this will keep spices and seasonings fresher, of course. The new design will also keep that air out. No more plastic red screw tops. Progress, right? Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.